because some of the things that I was looking for from the 90s about their sound that pulled me in wasn't there. Now, was it replaced by something bad? No, it was replaced by something different. And when you can get over that, then you can start to enjoy it. Hey, everybody out there, welcome back to another Friday installment of the Audiophiles. It's Andy, it's John, and it's a song brought to you by one of you out there in the listening audience, because Fridays are our viewer request days, and today we have a song that's been offered up by one Toryboy25, and it was offered up on our Toad the Wet Sprocket video devoted to their tune Fall Down, which is one of my suggestions for John to listen to. And this is a track called California Wasted by the band. And John, we did our flip of the coin, our spin of the bottle, our roll of the die, and it is your turn to go off and give this track a listen. Also, because I am familiar with this band and this tune. And I'm be interested to hear what you have to say about this. And just, slight spoiler alert, this is stuff that came later in their existence, sort of after their real, time in the spotlight during the mid 90s ish. So this is later on. I think this is mid 2000s ish material by them. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it, having heard some of their earlier material and now hearing this. And also just your reaction to another Toad the Wet Sprocket song, because this will only be your second time giving them a listen. So you have all the information that you need. Why don't you go off and give it a listen, my man?
Will do.
Excellent.
Nice start. Guitar's really rich, aren't they? It kind of, there's a bit of like that 80s feel to them. With like a tinge of like old country, just a touch. Really nice sounding. Pretty warm and inclusive. But it's got that tone to it as well, and I just got a second of him playing, but where it's sort of a it's kind of got like a touch of like, I don't know, what's the word, regret or something. It feels like it's one of those songs that's going to be reflective. I don't know, perhaps I'm wrong. Let's just whizz back a few bits.
Where did time go? What was I thinking? No compass, no map, no sail.
So the words I got there, where did the time go? What was I thinking? This is definitely a reflective song. Just had that tone to it. It does feel old school, and it feels fairly, without, this isn't meant to be an insult, but it sounds kind of middle of the road-ish sort of thing. It's just real comforting sound to it. That's very accessible as well. He's got a nice, soft, gentle voice as well, which kind of steers you in that direction. Yeah, it's good so far.
On the mast, this boat is sinking.
Nice piano.
endless day to banish the night. I could take this ride, and there's too much in my head right now. Got no way to slow it down. No one's gonna pull me out. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California's wasted on me.
Well, that sounded interesting. Just a second. Did I hear strings? Let's just go back 10 seconds.
Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California's wasted on me.
Oh, that sounds nice.
At the line where the ocean meets the sky, I've been hoping I could see a sign, hoping I could see a sign. There's too much in my head right now. I've got no way to slow it down. No one's gonna pull me out. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California's wasted on me. I still make the same mistakes. I'm wasted out in California. Too much in my head right now. I'm wasted. Too much in my head right now. Oh, California's wasted on me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely sort of built in terms of like the production as the song went on, and you get your sort of classic stadium cigarette lighter moments almost. It's all swirling up, and those strings definitely did exist because they came in more and more. Um, I like that. I guess that was the bridge, that bit with the sort of saggy sounding guitar at the start, but it was quite brief and then it went into something else. And I liked more of that. Also, I think the singer should know when to shut up a bit. I'd have liked a bit more musicality in the bridge without him reminding that he's got too much in his head or whatever. And again, as it went out, I feel he could have stopped then. As that, I think it was the guitar sort of riff at the start, the intro, that really nice, but it came back in at the end. It could have just let that ride out, but he had to again, paid by the word. I don't know. So yeah, decent song, really accessible and just enjoyable. I don't think it's anything earth shattering. But I wouldn't turn it off if it was on. But fairly kind of middle of the road. This must have been radio friendly. I don't know if it was pushed or not, but if people heard this would be a hit, surely. Oh, guess there's one way of finding out. Let's go back and get the skinny from Brother Andy.
All right, welcome back. So, what did you make of your second listen to Toad the Wet Sprocket?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'll get it. So starts off pretty immediate. Couple of wet slaps from a hammock on the drums, and bang, we're into this song. Quite retro sounding guitar intro. It's a nice riff though, really pleasant. I'm getting wafts of 80s Americana with a tiny hint of old country as well. Just
Mm.
nothing like you could actually,
No, but you're right.
hammer a nail into, but it's just there. It sounds nice and it sounds pure. That's probably and the tone of the song, and I don't mean the musical tone. I mean like the tone you get from the feeling of the music intro. It's one of those ones. I don't know why. If it's those notes, you get a slightly like, is it 3 or 4 notes descending? For me, it signifies like regret or reflection. I was thinking, yeah, it's going to be one of those songs. But it's a nice beginning. Singer starts. Voices, I think, it's softer than I remember from before. It's a bit more smoothed out, which is a common theme actually coming through the rest of the song. But then I hear one of the lines, "Where did the time go?" Yep, it's a reflective song. I was right. Natural one for John. So he's not, when he's talking about California Wasted, he's not talking about, the surfer reefer scene particularly. For this first verse, it's mostly the acoustic guitar strumming, but there's other bits and pieces, but there's some lovely like statement piano chords at the end of phrases, which I really, really like. And that sort of develops later in the song. The singer goes 2 rungs up the step ladder of emotion, and as he declares, "There's too much in my head right now." Then it dawns on me, this is the chorus, as the title's reference. California is wasted on me. So I don't think this is a very generous boast that he's offering to buy everybody, narcotics. I think he means that the quality of the state is not doing it for him. There you go. So we get another verse in the same style and the chorus again. And I believe the second chorus, I hear a touch of strings just slowly seeping through as he sings that sort of last line, the wasted line, I should call it. The overall feel at this point is it has a really nice old-fashioned feel to it. I think I said in reaction, without meaning it to be an insult or derogatory, but it is kind of middle of the roady, very friendly, very accessible. And it could have been put out any time in the last 40 years, this sort of song, really. Yeah. But it has that feel like, and then some people are like, will shy away from it because it's too sort of, call it safe or whatever you want to call it. But I felt the song sort of, it puts you at ease and you feel yourself very comfortable with it. It's not a challenging song in any way, but it's one that you can settle into very quickly. And it makes it very enjoyable. So end of this second chorus, we then get this fantastic guitar line, which is all string vest and clod-hopping boots is what I have in my mind. Like, it's a really baggy sound to it, like it's not properly strung up. I love those sounds. But unfortunately, it's quite short-lived. We definitely get some, and then we get some higher guitar comes in, and we definitely get some strings in. So I write on that score as well. And then he pops the very cliched line, which is the line where the ocean meets the sky, and just like, oh, that's a really cliched sort of line. It just, yeah. I would have liked at that point, and this is weird for me to say this because I've professed my distaste for them before, but I would have liked probably a proper bridge at this point. But the singer can't keep quiet. He has to keep bloody telling you out what's in his head or how it's full or whatever. And it was to a point where I was like, oh, this is a shame he's still bloody talking, because just a bit more, music rather than singing would have really added to it, and they could have extended that bit. This is my preference, not them. They know what they're doing. They're the professional band, but that's my input. We go back to the chorus again, and it's really swelling now. There's more strings, there's lots more stuff, and it's a bit of a almost like a Stadium Lighter moment. You're getting to that point of a crescendo of emotive stuff. There's that really nice riff from the start of the song comes back to bookend the song, which again is a technique we've seen and talked about before, but it's very pleasant. You go, oh, old friends come back, you know. But the singer still keeps going, telling us, and then there's that last sort of California is wasted on me line, and then it ends.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed this. It was really easy to listen to rather than easy listening, but it's easy to listen to. It was pleasant. I think I preferred the first one because that reminded me so much of REM and other stuff as well. So you can hear the roots of the previous music in this, but this does feel more sort of sanded down, and a bit more palatable. And I think I said in reaction that I don't know if this was pushed or not, but I would see if this was on the radio, it would be popular and would be a hit quite easily, I'd imagine. Decent tune. Certainly not something that will make me turn off, but it's not something that I was like, wow, not my socks off either. I just really enjoyed it, you know.
Sure. No, I kind of agree with your assessment. And I agree with your assessment now. But when I first heard this, it was, you know, and this is an indictment probably on me, because when this came out, I don't know if I was fully grown up yet. So I didn't want to see a band that I loved when they were young.
They got all boring. Yeah,
they grew up themselves, and I wasn't ready to say I had grown up. So I didn't like. I at first didn't like this. It rubbed me the wrong way. It was too, like you said, not easy listening, but easy to listen to. And I wanted, some angst or some, real deep. I didn't want to hear about a guy in his, 50s or whatever, reflecting on life. I wanted to hear about, other, trials and tribulations that one can encounter. And I was in my probably, 20s and should have been, buckling down. But now I listen to this, preparing for this episode, and I come at it from a different angle, and I enjoy this a lot more than I did the first time I heard this, and when they come back around, and I had hopes for something that wasn't going to be. So yeah, it was honestly and funny enough a good re-listen for me too, even though I wasn't the one doing the reaction, because I'm like, oh shit, I didn't give this a fair shake, or now I'm looking at it through the lens of someone who's like 13 or 14 years older, and it's a different perspective. So yeah, I also, you're absolutely right about how this song could have been written anytime in the last 40 years, but the production choices, I think, are probably the closest thing to a dead giveaway that this is, and the sound of his voice a little bit, you know what I mean, like you had touched on as well, were strong indicators, and the subject matter of them having, this time having passed since we listened to Fall Down, which came out, circa mid-90s at some point. So, yeah, just to touch on and agree with and bring to light some of the things you said about the song. Let's get into the band now. Quick recap of who they are, because as we've mentioned a few times now, we've covered them before. They are an alternative rock band from Santa Barbara, California, formed in 1986. Now, I think that formed in 1986 is important because you're absolutely right. Their first 2-3 albums had much more of the jangle pop kind of, maybe toward the end they weren't grunge, but they were sort of like, oh, they're using more distortion now, or their guitars sound a little different, sort of seeped into their later 90s, or later in the early mid-90s sound. So yeah, they kind of changed a little bit, I think it's safe to say. The band at the time consisted of vocalist guitarist Glenn Phillips, guitarist Todd Nichols, bassist Dean Denning, and drummer Randy Gus, who stopped touring in 2017 and formally left the band in 2020. And Gus was replaced by the drummer Josh Dobbin, who has been supporting them as the drummer on recent tours and essentially ever since. They had chart success in the 1990s with singles that included Walk on the Ocean, All I Want, Something's Always Wrong, Fall Down, and Good Intentions. The band broke up in 1998 to pursue other projects. However, they began touring in the United States again in 2006 for a short run of tours each summer in smaller venues. And in December 2010, the band announced that their official reunion as a full-time working band was starting up, and that they're writing songs for their first studio album of new material. And this is the first time since 1997 Columbia Records released Coil. So, quite a hiatus. I guess they got bit by the nostalgia bug doing all the tours, and they were like, the hell with this playing just old stuff. Let's get back to writing and forming the band again, which is good to see. Sometimes these bands that go on hiatus, you think, oh God, we're never going to hear from these guys again. But lo and behold, they come back. So, in May 2010, the band gathered at a California studio to begin re-recording some of their older hits for licensing reasons. Columbia Records owns the masters of the band's albums. Therefore, the band makes little money from them. So to be able to make a living off their own talent again, they made these re-recordings with the goal of having them used in film and TV and all that stuff, and actually be able to receive, substantive, royalties from their use. So on December 7th, 2010, Toad the Wet Sprocket released their first new studio album, studio track in 11 years. This is just a song. It was the holiday track, It Doesn't Feel Like Christmas, which is a cover of a Sam Phillips original, and it was posted on their official site, available via Bandcamp or for free download just in time for the holidays, along with a new message on their site. We're the band that did Walk on the Ocean, All I Want, Something's Always Wrong, and Fall Down. The one with the weird name. We're back from a long slumber and look forward to saying hello sometime. Keep in touch. So on April 12th, 2011, Toad the Wet Sprocket released a new greatest hits album titled All You Want in digital and on disc form via their official website. The 11-track CD includes the aforementioned brand new studio version of their old hits that they re-recorded. On June 5th, 2013, the band announced that their first new single in 16 years on Rolling Stone's website, entitled New Constellation. An album of the same name was released on the band's own Abe's Records on October 15th, 2013. The band marketed the new album via the crowdsourcing website Kickstarter, and the band initially set a fundraising goal of $50,000, expecting it to take about 2 months to raise that amount. Instead, fans contributed more than $50,000 in less than 20 hours. When the Kickstarter campaign finally came to a close, they had raised a total of $264,762. The band kicked off their new album with a release party for the Kickstarter supporters at the Palm Restaurant in Los Angeles, California on August 23rd, 2013, followed immediately by a live performance at the nearby Troubadour Music venue. In 2014, Toad the Wet Sprocket resumed their touring and opened a number of shows for Counting Crows. They showcased some of their new material from New Constellation, the Kickstarter-funded album, including California Wasted and the album's title track, while playing a number of their earlier hits. And during the summer of 2015, the band went on tour with fellow 90s acts Smash Mouth and Tonic, and the band released an EP called Architect of the Ruin on June 16th, 2015. On October 25th, 2020, they released a new song titled Starting Now, followed by another new song, Old Habits Die Hard, on October 23rd, from their album Starting Now, released on August 27th, 2021. So they've released 2 newer albums since they're sort of coming back together. As mentioned earlier, this track is featured on their album New Constellation, and in an interview with Yahoo Music, published on July 29th of 2014, singer-guitarist Glenn Phillips described the one-off shows and the time period around them. 3 or 4 years ago, it started feeling fun again. We started enjoying each other's company and remembered what made it good, and we kind of got out of our own interpersonal dramas a little bit. At some point, it felt like it was a good idea to make another record, to actually enjoy each other's company and make some good art again. And New Constellation debuted at number 97 on the Billboard 200 chart, selling 4,000 copies in its first week of release. And New Constellation received mostly positive feedback from music critics. Michael Perrone of What Culture described the album's tracks as having a sunny pop sheen reminiscent of their home state's weather, and that it's difficult to get any of the melodies out of your head. Fred Thomas of AllMusic writes, older, wiser, and with a newfound hopefulness that wasn't there in their younger days, Toad delivers an uncluttered and thoughtful next step to their ongoing songcraft. And in his review of the album for Spectrum Culture, Jacob Adams wrote, New Constellation reminds the listener what made Toad the Wet Sprocket college rock titans of the 1990s. At the same time, the group isn't likely to win many new fans. The band's sixth studio album doesn't stretch very far beyond the radio-friendly sounds that struck such a chord a couple decades ago. If anything, New Constellation might be the Toad album with the most studio polish. A Steely Dan circa gaucho style sheen eclipses some of the grit that made Toad interesting back in the day. And I think that that's fair because some of the things that I was looking for from the 90s about their sound that pulled me in wasn't there. Now, was it replaced by something bad? No, it was replaced by something different. And when you can get over that, then you can start to enjoy it. And that's sort of my narrative with this band and this song, and this second iteration of their existence, this post 2010 period, if you will. So let's jump into these lyrics, shall we? Oh, time, where did the time go? What was I thinking? No compass, no maps, no sail on the mast. This boat is sinking. We're going down. There's too much in my head right now. Got no way to slow it down. No one is going to pull me out. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California wasted on me. Stare at the sun, let the fire fill my eyes, see nothing but light, an endless day, banish the night. Let's set this right. There's too much in my head right now, got no way to slow it down. No one is going to pull me out. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California wasted on me. At the line where the ocean meets the sky, I believe that was your favorite line. I've been hoping I could see a sign, hoping I could see a sign. There's too much in my head right now. Got no way to slow it down. No one is going to pull me out. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. Oh, California wasted on me. I still make the same mistakes. I'm wasted out in California. There's too much time in my head right now. I'm wasted. Too much time in my head right now. Oh, California wasted on me. So, it's interesting. There's clearly some reflection. I mean, you were dead on with that. You almost wonder if some of it isn't about the band's experience or his perspective with the band as it went through. It's sort of, sort of coming down from the high that they were going through in the 90s. And I just California wasted on me. You're right. It is a funny play on that term of California wasted. You know, we talked about California sober in a recent video, so obviously you can kind of infer what California wasted means. But I think he's saying like, oh, this place for the young, aspiring, the hungry, with its beautiful views and its effervescence. Here I am stuck in my own head, thinking about what could have been, or maybe a misstep here and there. Making the same mistakes over and over again, which I think, at some point becomes relatable. You know what I mean? And perhaps at 28, I wasn't ready to relate to this kind of shit, but now at 41, I'm like, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. I can, it makes sense. So yeah, this was it was fun for me to give this a listen again, and for that alone, I appreciate Tory Boy offering this up again. If you would have put a gun to my head and said, guess what song by this band is going to get suggested in the comments field, it would have been one of the other hits that I had mentioned throughout my notes. And it turns out it wasn't, which is good outside the box thinking by Tory Boy, and great to be able to hold something up from a band and an artist, 20 years later that they put out or whatever. So yeah, good stuff. Glad you enjoyed it, John. Did you want to add anything before I wrap this up?
No, it's interesting you said about the sort of the iteration of a band. And I had a similar thing, to be honest with you. There's not many bands that go on hiatus and come back, and then put out new stuff. We had a couple of tracks from Stone Roses. I wish we hadn't. Pixies, again, I'm not a huge fan of their stuff since they came back. It's all right, but it's not what it was. Echo and the Bunnymen was the one that came to mind for me. And I think I said in a recent thing that we were talking about that. Chuck said that I saw them when they reformed. And they put out an album called Evergreen, and it's really nice. But it does have that sort of maturity, to it in terms of a middle-aged man's point of view.
Yeah.
and it kind of feels weird when they try to do the rockier numbers because, you know, and now they're even older. And I I appreciated that album at the time because I was a bit older as well, but probably not as much as I do now. But you know, but again, the gap and the bit I sort of went with them, so they were always, you know, they must be 10 years older than me, something like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
was just about old enough to sort of not be all sort of fanboy about it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because time doesn't stand still for anyone.
No.
So people creating this music is exactly the same as the people listening to this music. And it's true there's some tunes that take you back and you're 17 again when you hear them. And there's some where, you know, you really shouldn't try and be 17 again. And
Yeah.
I guess those are the songs you don't really listen to as much. But there are others that, you know, from when I was 13 that I still listen to. But yeah, nostalgia, all of that mixed up.
It's a hell of a drug, man. Nostalgia, a hell of a
Yeah.
drug. And it, like I sort of admitted to, I think it's oftentimes, sometimes a band will come back together and they'll put out an album, and it is like objectively shit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It happens. But sometimes they come back and they just put out something different, and it's
Yeah.
more of an indictment on you, the listener, trying to go back to something that you can't go back to. I mean, you can go back and listen to it, but you can't go back and experience it again. And if for some reason you hang these false hopes that this is going to come out and it's going to feel like 1994 again or something like that. It's just not going to be the case. Everybody grows up. So, it was a pill I didn't want to swallow when I was 28. It's one that I'm now resigned to at 41. It is what it is. So, and I think we all probably, as you said, you went through it with stuff. I've gone through it with stuff. It just happens. It's part of aging, and it's interesting. So anyway, Toy Boy, thank you so much for offering this up. John, thank you for giving a listen, man. I appreciate your insight on the song. Also, guys out there in the listening audience, thank you for sticking around and listening to this. Please feel free to drop anything in the comments below, whether it's another band or song by this band that we should check out, your overall thoughts on the song, whatever. Just be kind. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. We are trying to grow the channel. We are growing the channel, and we can't do that without you. We haven't gotten to this point without you guys. We really, really do appreciate that. So please like, share, and subscribe. All that out of the way, hopefully John and I will see all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.